are recording live on YouTube. We are good to go, Chairman, whenever you are ready.
Ready?
Yep.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a zoning board of appeal web-based meeting held via Zoom, April 24, 2025 at 7 p.m. We start with a roll call. Mr. Trata.
Present.
Mr. DeLucia.
Present.
Mr. Rivero. Not here. Mr. Botello.
Present.
Mr. Rivas.
Present.
I'm Joe Hanna, chairman of the board. Okay, we're gonna state Mr.
Chairman.
For,
oh, never mind, you got it.
I'm gonna seat Mr. Trata for Mr. Rivero, and we move to accept the minute from March 27, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of March 27, 2025 as read.
Who made the motion now?
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman, I made the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. The next regular meeting is May 8, 2025. And now we'd like to have a motion to hear application 25-05, 25-06, and continuation of, let's see, continuation of 25-04.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to open applications 25-05, application 25-04 for public hearing, and continue application, I'd like to start over with the motion. I would like to make a motion to open public hearings 25-05, 25-06, and continue application 25-04 for public hearing.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Application 25-05. Anyone represent the applicant for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, Neil Marcus, Cohen & Wolf PC, 158 Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury, and I am here on behalf of the applicant. And this is an application that should be dated March 30, and it's from Danbury Mill Plain Realty LLC, which is the current title holder to the property at 85 Mill Plain Road. And that's a piece of property that's located on Mill Plain Road at the intersection of Westwood Drive. And for many years, it was known as John's Automotive. John Obringer ran his repair shop and gas station there for a long time. The current owners have purchased the property, and they're going to convert it, if they get all the permits that are required, from a gasoline repair shop and a body shop in the back to a gasoline convenience store, typical of other gasoline convenience stores that are currently located around the city of Danbury. So the repair operation will disappear. The old body shop operation will disappear, and the gasoline sales will continue, and the convenience store will be filled into the old site with a conversion of the existing building. The property is in the CA80 zone. In the right of way, that's one of the problems the C80 zone requires 80,000 square feet, and the area of this property it's non-conforming is about 31,000. So if you think of it as a 2-acre zone, we have roughly 3/4 of an acre. So the other thing, of course, is that the property is now located within the Kenosha Class 2 watershed. And that designation came up a long time after it was a gasoline station and a repair garage. So all the Lake Kenosha considerations make the property use non-conforming. So we've identified a number of sections of the zoning regulations that we need to vary. And interestingly enough, if we get a variance for these various sections, the property will be more conforming when we complete the construction than it is today, because this property is completely non-conforming based on the zoning modifications that have occurred over the years. So I'm going to go through these, and the first one is to reduce the minimum front yard setback, and you should have a copy of the site plan. And there in the front of the building, there's currently a gasoline island, vending island, and we're going to ask to reduce the front yard setback from. Thank you, Sean, for sharing your screen. We're going to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20.05 feet. And that's the first variance. And if you go into the actual application form, you'll see that that we've identified these variances by various numbers on the hardship statement. And as I say, the current canopy, the current front yard setback for the canopy is 21.6. So it's non-conforming. The new canopy will be 20.5. But the reason that the new canopy will be slightly closer to the front yard is that the expanded canopy will cover the containment grooves. Containment grooves are installed today, and they didn't exist when that island was originally constructed. But the containment grooves are part of the new fuel vending island, and they protect the environment from any leakage from the pumps. So basically, if you're pumping fuel and you have a spill out of your tank because you didn't shut it off when or the automatic shutoff didn't go off, whatever, you had a spill, the gasoline today would run over the pad and just out towards the street. And it wouldn't be contained at all. The modern new installation will have containment grooves, and these containment grooves are only effective if you cover them from the rain. So in order to protect the environment, remember in the Class 2 watershed for Kenosha, in order to consider that we have to upgrade it to the most environmentally efficient vending island, we want to put in we want to put in these containment grooves, but they're ineffective if we don't extend the canopy over them. So the reason that the canopy is going to be 20.5 feet instead of 21.6 feet is to allow us to cover the containment grooves. So that's an increase in the current nonconformity by 1.5 feet, but it is done for purposes of making the site more conforming in the environmentally sensitive area. So on the one hand, we're picking up 1.5 feet more on the variance than is currently required. But on the other hand, we're putting in an environmental feature that doesn't exist and should, because it's in the watershed protection area. So that's the first variance. The second variance that we've asked for is to allow 2 parking spaces in the front yard, and then to reduce the 20-foot landscaped screen to 0, because quite honestly, there's never been a landscape screen on this property. It's always been a fueling a gas station with a fueling island, and that probably goes back 50 years or more. It's what it's always been. So in order to continue to operate the pumps, you're going to have cars on both sides of the island, and you're also going to have a driveway that allows passage around the building, etc. So there's no room for a landscape screen in the front. We're not increasing the nonconformity. It remains exactly the same as it is today. And again, paragraph 2 of our statement of hardship expands on this. The section is H1B, 5H1B. That's the 20-foot landscape perimeter in the front of the property. And we have 2 front yards, actually. We have a front yard on Westwood because we're a corner lot, and we have a front lot on Mill Plain. So today there's no perimeter. The proposal is to landscape the property. If you look at the site plan, there's a landscaped section along Westwood. And so the landscaping will be along the property line on Westwood in the area lying east of the parking lot that's paved and the retaining wall. So right now, as you come into the property on the east side, and if you drive around the building to all the parking spaces that are provided in the rear of the property, then you're going to see that there's a retaining wall. Between the retaining wall and Westwood is landscaping. So there's a landscape perimeter on that side, but we can't do that along Mill Plain Road. It, as I say, it doesn't, there's no place for it. So we explained along the southerly property line, which is Mill Plain Road, the entire frontage is really driveway and vending island. So the variance, if you'll grant it, will reduce the nonconformity because it allows us to landscape along Westwood. It doesn't exist today. So we'll landscape there, which makes this property more conforming. On Mill Plain, what you see today is what you will see tomorrow. It'll be just the island and the driveways going in. And as I said, it's been that way for about 50 years. The third variance that we talk about is to allow parking at the gas pump islands, which would be parking within the front yard. And that is section 3 on the statement of hardship. 5H2 prohibits motor vehicles in the front yard of the parking, but of course, to pump gas, you're considered to be in a parking stall. So that's a parking stall on either side of the island, and the island is within the front yard setback. Once again, it's non-conforming today. It'll remain non-conforming tomorrow, but we are moving the parking in the front yard 4 feet to the north, reducing the nonconformity. So it's a nonconformity today, it's a nonconformity tomorrow, but it's going to be 4 feet further back from Mill Plain Road, and that reduces our nonconformity. So that's appropriate for this. Section 5H1C requires a 20-foot wide screen perimeter along the along the side yard of the property. Now, the front, which is the south, is a front yard. The east along Westwood is also a front yard. Under our zoning regulations, when you have a corner lot with 2 front yards, you don't have a rear yard. So the north side of the property and the west side of the property are both side yards. So if you look at the north side of the property, there's a zone line. And above the property is the RA40 zone. That zone line hasn't changed in years. Ever since the C80 zone was created, that's been the existing zone line. And prior to that, the property, half of Mill Plain was IL40, the other half was CG20. And again, there was always a zone line at the back of this parcel. So the zone line is there. And the requirement is that you have to have a 20-foot wide screen perimeter where the CA80 joins the RA40. So right now, there's a structure back there in the back of the property that is is a zoning violation because it was built without permits many years ago, basically for a body shop. So we're taking that out. The site plan calls for us to remove the zoning violation in the back and create parking, required permitted parking along the north side. And that is too close to the residential zoning line there to do any screening. So currently there's no screening. And when we do the site, we'll reduce the nonconformity, i.e. the building, but the screening will still be nonconforming. So there's no change with respect to that requirement on the proposed plan versus the existing conditions. The next variance deals again with parking. And the next variance is let me go back here for a second. Papers. Okay, so the next one is to allow the parking at the gas pump islands. So again, we're going to do the parking in the front yard because the spaces at the island, as I've indicated, are deemed to be parking spaces, even though it's pretty temporary. You pull in, you fill your car up, and you pull out usually. But those are again within the front yard setback. So the request here, this is paragraph 5 of the statement of hardship. 8C1C2 prohibits parking spaces in the required front yards. And the existing island is located in the front yard. The proposed island is within the front yard. And this pre-existing condition has gone on forever. The proposal to park the cars at the fuel island is 23 feet from the front property line, and it's supposed to be 25. So we need a 2-foot, it's a de minimis, we need a 2-foot variance for the parking spaces at the island. And they're really the two outer spaces on the south side of the island. So that's a separate variance requirement. But again, it doesn't change the current conditions because they've always had a gas island there. The sixth item on the statement of hardship is section 8B1B4. And that is to vary the driveway width of 24 feet for two-way travel. If you look at the site plan, in the northeast corner of the site, where the building, at the northeast corner of the building, when you're about to swing into the back parking area, that width is only the width between the retaining wall and the island at the end of the parking is not sufficient for 24 feet. So the requirement then is the bulk of the structure will be 27.3 feet from the side yard, so that's conforming. However, that small section of the driveway between the building and the retaining wall requires a 3.6 foot variance, so we can consider this to be a two-way driveway. Now, we want to keep it as a two-way driveway because it makes sense for traffic flow. But the property, because cars could come in from either direction, we would prefer that the traffic flow be counterclockwise around the building, but we can't guarantee that, so we need to maintain this as a two-way driveway. So that's a variance of 3.6 feet required. Again, the hardship here is that the existing buildings are just located that close to the proposed retaining wall. However, again, the site will become much more conforming because we're going to knock down the body shop building that's in the back. So overall, the site becomes more conforming. The number 7 on the proposed hardship statement is a variance of 8C3B1. Now, our zoning requirements, 8C3B1, require landscape islands at the end of each row of parking. If you look at the parking spaces on the east side of the building, you'll see that there's a handicap space and 2 other spaces. It's basically a row of 3 parking spaces. So the south end of the parking spaces, where the handicap space is, adjoins the fuel island. There's no room next to the handicap space to put in a landscape island. The landscape island would be in the parking space where cars are fueling. There's never been any landscape islands there. There's never really been any formal parking there, but we need to vary that requirement to put in a landscaped island on either side of the 3 parking spaces. But our regulations do have a technical requirement, and actually I can go around the city of Danbury and see a lot of small, 2, 3 parking spaces from years ago. Nobody ever did landscape islands, but here there just is no room in the existing site for another landscaped island, which would be out where the canopy and the fueling island exists. And again, there's no room to move the fueling island closer to Mill Plain Road, and you wouldn't want to do that. As it is, we need a minor variance, a couple feet, just to put it where it is. So the problem is the pre-existing location of this building on a site that's 3/4 of an acre in size, trying to squeeze in where the zoning reg is drafted for a 2-acre site, just doesn't work because it's all pre-existing non-conforming. But I sum up, if you look at the end of our list of hardships, the result of this proposed renovation takes this completely non-conforming property, which includes a repair shop for motor vehicles and an old body shop, and make it more conforming, because in the Lake Kenosha watershed, you can't repair automobiles. So if the repair shop didn't exist there today, you couldn't put one in. But it can continue as long as it's there prior to that reg, which it is. We could continue the repair shop. The owner is elected to get rid of the repair shop and put in the convenience store. A convenience store meets the zoning requirement for both the CA80 zone and the watershed, like the watershed area. So we're taking a non-conforming use and converting it to a conforming use. That's huge, by the way. That's a major benefit for the city of Danbury in the Kenosha watershed. So at the end of the day, the hardship that applies to the site is, as I've said, it's total non-conformity. Over the years, as zoning regulations have been amended, all of these requirements have never been met. And basically, this site, as I say, was a gas station almost for as long as I can remember. I will tell you, it's got to be more than 50 years. It's been there. So if we get the variances and we're allowed to move forward with the construction, we're going to have a much more conforming site as to its use, as to its traffic flow, as to its parking, and as to its landscaping, because we do have landscaped islands on the parking area, the parking row on the north side of the property. It's landscaped. We do have now a delivery zone, a place for trucks to unload. We have the required parking for the convenience store, and we have the gas island brought up to top current modern standards and design. And that's what we've got. And quite honestly, if you've driven by this site over the last year or so, you'll see that my client, even without the permit to go forward with the project, has been cleaning up this site. All the junk cars, I mean, that place is clean today compared to what it was when it was purchased. And at this point, if we get the variances, we can move forward with planning to start the construction in the rehab and make the site more conforming. This presentation to you this evening has been more than 8 or 10 months in the making. We have had many, many meetings with the planning department, with Sean Harity, with Larry Liebman at in the health department. There have been multiple drafts of the site plan, and we've tweaked it and answered a lot of questions. And it's my belief that when we filed this on March 30th, we filed it with the blessing of the department, for the planning department, saying that this would make sense. Now, it's not approved by the planning commission. It still has to go for a special exception in a site plan approval. It's not signed off completely by the engineering department yet, but the proposal for site drainage, how we're going to treat water on the site, the proposal as to how we're going to contain any dangerous, hazardous materials in the watershed protection area has all been vetted in a lot of lengthy meetings. So this, quite honestly, is one of the longest presentations for variances that I've done to this board in a long time. And somebody would say, maybe you're overreaching, maybe you're asking for too many. But the fact of the matter is that every part of the site today is non-conforming. When we finish, we're going to have a lot less non-conformity. And what you're going to have is something that will look a hell of a lot better on Mill Plain Road as a gateway into Danbury coming in from New York State. And it's consistent with what's been happening along Mill Plain Road. If you look at the Calusi's market and the other developments that have been taking place, getting rid of some old eyesores. And as much as I like John Oberg, he was a great guy, an old client of our firm. I thought he ran a good operation. The place was an eyesore. And he would never have gotten an award for great housekeeping. That wasn't John. But so this is the opportunity to do that. So at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions of the commission. And we have with us one of the site engineers, Doug, I saw was on the sites on the screen. So if we have any questions about the site plan specifically, he'll answer them. But keep in mind that the technical engineering questions really go to the engineering department, the Department of Health, as part of the planning review. So I'm going to ask that you not go too far into the weeds on technical issues, but if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Marcus.
Yes, sir.
The island, landscape island, you want to remove, are you removing it all or taking a part of it?
Well, we're not removing any landscape island. There is not a landscape island on this site. What we're asking you is to have permission not to try to create one on the building where the handicap space is. Because technically, there should be an 8-foot landscaped island next to the handicap.
What about if you make the driveway turn around, you can't come on the other side, going in and leaving the other side?
Well, you can. You can access this property because cars driving westbound on Mill Plain Road who want to come in and fuel, they're going to come in on the west side driveway. And so that's going to be an entrance, and a car similarly who's exiting, who come in on the east side of the property was going westbound, not eastbound. Excuse me, yeah, westbound, not eastbound. The cars coming down the right-hand side of Mill Plain Road towards New York State are going to come in the first driveway, and they're probably going to go out the second driveway. That's the way they're facing. So both of these driveways today are two-way, and they're proposed to continue that way. But we're not eliminating any landscape islands. They've never existed.
Are they required to do any environmental tests over there when they make all these changes? Because was auto repair shop or no?
Yeah, it had to go through the Transfer Act. Yes, it's been tested. The site's pretty clean. But any cleanup will be required by the health department. But at the moment, that's all been done.
Mm. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Marcus, I have a question.
sir.
The retaining wall opposite of Mill Plain Road, that's a pretty steep slope. How high do you think you have to go?
With that retaining wall that runs parallel to Westwood,
Yeah,
No,
gotta be
the
west.
opposite Mill Plain Road, where all the parking is in the back of the gas station.
hang on a second.
Because I know that hill gets a lot of water, and I was wondering how you're going to manage it. And I know it has to be. It seems like a big deal, and I see that your closest parking spot to the line there is pretty close.
Which parking area are you looking at?
Opposite Mill Plain Road, the other side of the property.
Okay, so there are 9 parking spaces along the north
Correct.
side.
And those will need a retaining wall. Am I correct?
No. Where's our engineer? Greg, what do you think?
Yes. Hi, my name is Greg Lockcheek. I work for Alfred Benish and Company, and I'm representing our client, Sammy Jamal. If you allow me to share my screen, I can pull up a grading and drainage plan, which shows the elevations right here. Okay, can everybody see this?
Not yet. And it'll come-
Yeah.
Now we can.
Okay.
So right here, we're at about elevations 474, and our closest elevation to the wall is going to be about 482. So the retaining wall will be about 8 feet tall at its highest point in this corner. The existing grade will slope down into the corner here, and there will be no retaining wall that's required on the back side of the property here. Or on the back, it's actually the northern side. Our retaining wall will also be we'll be demolishing the existing retaining wall that's located approximately in the same location abutting Westwood Road, and it'll be extended further up on the northeast corner of the property. We will also be including an under drain, which we are not sure if is currently existing. That will help with any of the drainage issues associated with the wall. Additionally, all retaining walls that are constructed in the state of Connecticut need to be signed off by a licensed structural engineer, which will be provided prior to construction.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you for but are you saying that behind all of those 9 parking spots, there's no need for any kind of drainage or wall, or is that what I'm looking at there? A curtain drain?
Correct. So this dark bold line here, and I can draw it out a little bit, well, it's not dark, but this line here, that is our 475 contour, and our new 475 contour will be here, leaving this corner to be at approximately 475.25, which will allow us to not require any retaining wall there, potentially a 1-foot curb instead of a 6-inch curb, which all those details will be ironed out prior to construction, but there will be no formal retaining wall around this back edge.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your clarification.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a few questions to follow up on the parking there. So if it's the new contour line, we're basically saying that it's borderline into that parking spot, about 90% it looks like. And I don't know, I would have to look into the regulations and maybe Sean can, you know, opine on this. Would eliminating that parking spot just be a little bit safer instead of taking the risk and adding that parking spot there?
There should be no risk to safety or slope stability that this parking space incurs. If we need to, we can provide some kind of geotextile slope stabilization. Uh, I don't see any issue why we would need to remove this parking space, as we're essentially matching the existing grade at the top of the curb at the corner in this location.
And then I have a few more questions for Mr. Marcus.
Yes, sir.
With you're asking here for 7 variances, I understand the need for or the you're making this a lot less non-conforming than what it is now. One of my biggest concerns is the two-way traffic that you're requesting for that variance on the 24-foot driveway where it narrows down to 20 feet. Um, with the Mill Plain Road traffic that we currently get, and there being a stoplight there at the intersection of Westwood and Mill Plain, my opinion is I believe it's more conducive if we make this a one-way property or site than the two-way. Even looking at the site plan, the way it's drawn up, it's makes it more conducive and it aligns it to a more one-way traffic type of flow on the property. As I see, the parking spots are kind of on a diagonal lineup or shape, kind of the 40, 45-degree angle. And with the traffic that amounts, my fear for safety, concern, and the welfare of the public, people will try to enter at that westerly side entrance with the stoplight there. Now you're having cars trying to enter on both sides of the driveway, making it a more dangerous um, uh, uh, intersection as far as entering in and out of the property. Um, I think it's more
I understand what you're
conducive. It's more conducive if the traffic flowing westerly on Mill Plain Road enters the property and is able to then exit, creating less traffic and hassle and less likely causing any sort of accident to the property.
Well, this is a state highway. It's Route 6 is a state highway. And we have a city traffic engineer. And I mean, I appreciate all your comments, but don't you think that those guys ought to be the ones to determine whether that's an issue? I mean, because quite honestly, for you could feel that way, and I'm not questioning your feelings and your logic for you, but I would prefer not to have the zoning board of appeals make this determination, because then when we get to the planning commission in the city traffic engineer in the state highway for a curb cut, they may not share that view. They do strange things. So I understand what you're saying, and I will make sure that when this is in front of the planning commission, that we share that comment from you, from the ZBA. But I'm not sure I want to do it where the ZBA decides the traffic flow. I mean, because there's too many things that are going to happen afterwards, and I really don't want to come back later with a whole new variance application because I got a condition that either the state DOT doesn't sign off on or our own traffic engineer. So I see what you're saying, but I'll also tell you that the applicant is a very experienced operator. He has a great number of convenience stores and gas stations in the Danbury area and over Westchester County. I mean, he runs in other parts of Connecticut. So I hear what you're saying, but I wouldn't want to do it because, quite honestly, this is a decision for other people who have the expertise that I don't have, and I would defer to them. So I understand your thought, but quite honestly, a delivery truck is going to come in to deliver on the on the west end driveway, and that's because we have a loading zone up there, and go out on the east side. So the delivery truck is likely to use the two-way driveway. And again, at 20 feet in width, I mean, we have roads in Danbury that aren't 20 feet wide. So a 20-foot driveway is is significant. So I don't know if that's a problem. Your question is, will the state allow both driveways to be in and out?
No,
And
that's not my question. My
Oh,
my
sorry.
concern is the high likability of it being uh, causing more accidents to the site or the area. And I understand with the city engineers and the state experts getting involved, but you're coming in front of us as the ZBA, and I know that they may deny it, they may approve it, but coming to us, we're held at a position and a title to make sure that one of the things that we do is look out for that welfare safety of the public. And you know, we vote on this variance, and once we vote on this variance, whether it gets approved or it doesn't get approved, it stays with the property, it stays with the land. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, that, there's, safety measures in place to, prevent something like that happening. But once we give it the blessing, if we do approve it, and it ends up failing or down the road with these experts, this variance stays with the land. And
That's correct,
therefore, somebody
but
else can come in
yeah,
and
I understand what you're
make it more non-conforming, or make it less non-conforming. And then here we are with the same incident or situation that, I'm speaking on now.
well, your variance, when you'll grant it, is usually per plan submitted. So it's this plan you're approving, not some future plan.
I would disagree with you, Mr. Marcus, on that.
Because the only thing we're doing is eliminating a lot of nonconformities based on this plan.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
and you are, and I see that, but that one variance is could potentially come back, and whether the client stays with the property or sells it off, it stays with the property. It does not stay with the application. Anybody can come in and purchase the property off the current client and make it whatever they want.
So you want to say that if you approve the variance for the two-way driveway in the north
Easterly.
corner of the building, that you would approve it only if the driveway there were one way?
Yeah, I think that I would be more comfortable with that
Well,
in place.
Again, I think that, I understand your concern, but boy, I'd love the city traffic engineer to be the one to make that choice, rather than, and I don't want to insult you, but I'd rather have the city traffic engineer make it than you.
I understand, but unfortunately, we're here first.
That's
So,
true, but you're only giving the variances. You're just the first step. This has to go through planning, city engineer, and we'll raise that issue. We'll say that actually you can put it on a motion. If you gave us a variance, you could put with an advisory that this issue here needs to be looked at further by the city, by the engineer. That's fine.
We're just gonna vote, we're just gonna approve the setback lines. The rest is gonna be other city department, they're gonna
Absolutely.
approve this.
So Juan and Neil,
Yes,
why
sir.
don't, and in this, and Juan's 100% correct, because if it does get through, it's there forever. Now, if the traffic commission comes in and says, no, you can't do both ways, it's not a safety, then the variance is still there. So why not wait till after for that particular variance? I mean, the others we can talk about, but for that particular one, why not wait till you get the traffic inspection, and then they approve it, and then you say, okay, come back, here we go, variance, boom, you got it. That's simple. That makes sense. That's common sense.
Attorney Marcus, has the DOT commented on that at all yet, or what?
No.
What is their?
We haven't been there. You're the first place, and it's taken us 8
Okay.
months to get to you. Quite honestly, this has been very. And by the way, the fact that the planning department has looked at this and had no issue with it sort of belies. I mean, I've got to say, I've got Juan saying it should be one way, but actually, we've met with the planning department and they had no problem with this driveway setup. So, you know, I do have to
What about
defer.
a traffic study? What about the traffic study to see how it goes? It's simple. It's easy. Do it and then come back and get it done. That's it.
So you want us to come back to you, make this a one-way driveway until we do a traffic study? You guys want to see the traffic study and then give us a variance to make it two ways at that corner?
No, that depends what they say. If they come in and say, no, you can't do two ways, or if they say two ways is fine, then there's no problem. There's no issue. If they say, no, you can't do two ways there, and we've granted a variance, it's already locked in and it's there for.
No, Bill, you're wrong. If you say we can do it and they say no, it doesn't get done. They are the final. Traffic is not in the ZBA's parameter. So as I said, I don't disagree with you guys. That's
road.
argue it, but the fact of the matter is, I'd just rather have the right department do it.
The driveway, it's used as it is now.
Yeah.
So
do it.
we only vote on that 1.5 foot or 3 foot, whatever it is, instead
Yeah.
of making that driveway little bigger. And the rest of it is all engineering and whenever the planning can allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So you guys should concentrate on providing on the setback line.
No,
And the rest
well, I am, Mr. Chairman. I am. The thing is that if we shorten that setback, again,
but listen, it's used now, the way it is now, it's used for
It's
that
not, but
parking in the back.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that it's not being used because there's a building blocking access through the property from one side to the other. If we allow this, that building comes down, or if the client decides to sell the property, now we have a setback that's at 20 feet instead of the zoning regulation requirement of 25 feet. And so I understand every side of this, but I think everybody's hyper focused
Yeah.
on the
I
two-way
understand.
aspect of it.
I
but we
understand where
allow
you're
that.
coming from. Yes, we all want the safety, the well-being of the public. The thing is, if he moves that building out, he have a major improvement. Anytime you go from auto body shop to remove that issue from there, is a major improvement for environmentally for the property. Anyway, so
So Juan, just again, if you look at the site plan, the requirement is to be 20. The requirement for the driveway there is to be at 24 feet. So that, again, we got it's a 3.6 foot variance. The proposed retaining wall is only 20.4 feet. And we need, so it's beyond the handicapped. It's at the farthest corner of the building, the farthest corner. The retaining wall there is 20.4 feet, and we need 3.5 more feet. So if you're saying that it makes sense to put a notch in the retaining wall, then I guess we'd have to just put a notch in the retaining wall. But that's the 3.5 feet there. It would be an odd retaining wall. It would be straight. You'd have a curvature out there, so you could get a distance of another 3.5 feet. And that's all we're asking about. So, if you're saying that we can't have that variance, then we're going to have to either make that a one-way driveway, or we got to put a notch in here. So,
And if that's something that you guys can do, that I'm fine with that. This goes, for me, it goes beyond just the traffic as well. That's supposed to be a proposed loading zone. You got an 18-wheeler that sits back there. You got a Ballard
Yeah.
at the corner of the property.
Yeah.
You got two-way traffic. Let's say you get the two-way traffic, the variance, and everything gets approved. And you got traffic now going both ways. You got an 18-wheeler sitting there with a Ballard at the corner of the lot. And, I get it. It's 5 feet. But you got cars, people are coming in and out of gas stations, some drive responsibly, others drive erratically. You got a tractor trailer sitting there in that loading zone. You got somebody coming in from the easterly Mill Plain roadside. Somebody's coming down on the other end to get out to through the easterly from the westerly side, and we have an accident,
Okay. Yeah,
or,
yeah,
or somebody's trying to get to their car at the rear of the property and they get hit by a car.
okay. So your problem is that it's the 3.5 feet. So your problem is with section, I gotta get the right.
Section
With the two dri-
8B1B4.
Yeah, it's item number 6, and you'd say,
Yep.
take that variance out and you're pretty good with the rest of it. So,
Yeah, I think that you are making it less non-conforming, and
okay.
part of our committee is to make things that are non-conforming less non-conforming, and I'm okay with that.
So basically, the applicant would then either make that a one-way driveway at that corner, be one way, or they have to lop off a corner of the building or put a bow in the retaining wall. We can do it. I mean, there are so many beneficial aspects to this variance application that I wouldn't get hung up on it. So the answer is, if I think we should let the city traffic department figure it out, but if you're that concerned, then you should not grant that variance. You should grant the rest of them. I agree. And we'll work it. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
But yeah, it's only 3.5 feet there. And that's what we're talking about. Okay. I mean, if that's the hang up, I wouldn't want to kill this whole project over 3.5 feet. There are too many beneficial aspects. So we'll let you guys wrestle with that one when you make your decision. But if you wanted to take that variance out, we will have to deal with it later, or come back to you once, as Bill Trotta said, once we have the city sign off for traffic and the state sign off, and everybody say there's no reason not to have two-way there. Then we come back to you and ask you. That's fine. That might make sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else have a question from the board?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that, Attorney Marcus. And I agree, it shouldn't have to be left in our hands,
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question? Okay, anyone from the public support this application? Anyone in support this application? Anyone in opposition for this application? Anyone in opposition for this application? Okay. Make a motion to close 25-05. Anyone?
Well, before we close it, so as a board and with what Mr. Marcus has explained, are we gonna want to continue, or are we gonna close it and then decide within ourselves?
Well, this is a little complication here. If you're just gonna vote on one variance and leave the other one out, I don't know how you're gonna word it. If Mr. Marcus would like to
Can we,
discuss it with the city engineering first about the driveway and then come back to us?
Joe,
Or
honestly,
you wanna,
Could we deny it without prejudice? Is
no,
that
no.
one of the options, or would it be
no,
shelve it,
sure.
just that one variance?
No, no.
Can we have
Peter,
Sean?
if I can, again, if I can answer that question, it'll be months before this thing gets reviewed by the, you can't hold the pure public hearing open for the traffic engineer. I'm saying we will withdraw the request for a variance to 8B1B4.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. And we'll either live with it the way it is, one way, or we'll come back after, but that will be back to you, 6 months from now. Because you think the site plan and special exception move that quickly. It doesn't. It's
So-
3 months just to get it to a
So
public
if-
hearing. So I would ask for because if otherwise we can't go to the next step without your approval. So
if they're gonna vote on it now,
you have to really.
they're gonna approve the what do you call it?
The motion would be to approve the variances requested with the exception of the variance to section 8B1B4, which is denied. And that's fine.
Or you could even say, Attorney Marcus through the chair, the voluntary
It's
removal.
withdrawn.
Yeah,
I'll withdraw it. I will withdraw it. Dear better, Sean, that's a better way to do it. You can say that on the record, but no variance to 8B1B4 because it's been withdrawn. That makes sense.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, that's good then.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close application 25-05 from public hearing.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. You gonna vote on it now, or you wanna go with the second
Well-
one?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to open application 25-05, 85 Mill Plain Road, Danbury, Mill Plain Realty LLC for voting session.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Delosha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone volunteering for a motion now?
I can make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Uh.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve 85 Mill Plain, yeah, 85 Mill Plain Road, Danbury, Mill Plain Realty LLC, Marcus Neal Esquire Agent, CA 80 Zone, Section 5B3A, reduce front yard setback from 25 feet to 20.5 feet for canopy. Section 5H1B, reduce landscape perimeter planting strip for front lot lines from 20 feet to 0 feet. Section 5H1C, reduce residential buffer planting strip for side yard from 20 feet to 0 feet. Section 5H2, allow 2 parking spaces and require front yard. Section 8C1C2, allow parking and require front yard on Mill Plain Road only. And then section 8C3B1, eliminate landscape island adjacent to handicap space for the renovation of existing gas station and convenience store. Omitting from the motion AC1C2, or excuse me, yep, where is it? Omitting from the motion AB1B4, required driveway width from 24 feet to 20.4 feet. My motion, I don't think I can say as per plan submitted because it does designate on the site plan that withdrawal of the variance for the 8B1B4 reduce require driveway width from 24 to 20.4 feet. So, Mr. Marcus, I guess you will have to resubmit some site plans until then. That is my motion.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
Second,
seconded by Mr. Trata or Peter?
Peter.
Mr. Delucia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Uh,
So, okay. Application 25.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification for my own notes, essentially, the motion that you did, if you look at the request, it was paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, and not paragraph 6. Does that make sense?
yes, correct.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure.
I made sure that I put it on the record that I'm omitting
Yep,
6 from it.
perfect. Thank you.
Good.
I appreciate that.
Very good.
And quickly through the chair again, Attorney Marcus, from my understanding is that a revised map will then be submitted to update the ZBA file.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That will be Sean, quite honestly, that'll be the map that'll go next to zoning, to planning anyway. So, yeah, you're correct. I will do that. Good.
Very good. Okay. Application 25-06, 6 Sage Road. Anyone represent the applicant?
I do, Mr. Chairman, Neil Marcus. And this one, I'm not going to talk quite as long.
You got them all tonight. It's gonna
Yeah.
be a long night for us.
One-stop shopping for me, at least.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let me get my file out 1 second. The second application that's on your agenda this evening is for Marlene Tendler, and that is the property at Six
Yeah.
Sage Road. And after
Sage.
all I've
Yeah.
said, I'm gonna introduce myself. For the record, Neil Marcus, Kona Wolf, PC 158 Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury. And the applicant here wants to rebuild a property that was suffered a fire and is in disrepair. And the only thing that she is looking for is a variance to section 4G1 to allow her to park 2 vehicles in the 30-foot front yard setback for a distance of approximately 10 feet, leaving a 20-foot front yard setback as opposed to 30. And and Ralph Gallagher is on the line, at least he was earlier. He's still in the square here. If you have any questions, Ralph designed the site plan. And the reason that we need the variance is that the property has a lot of grade, like a lot of in Lake Wabeeka. It has a lot of ledge. Ledge condition limits where a septic system can be located. And the existing septic system is located in the only other area on the site where you might park cars. So if you look at the site plan coming down from Sage Road, which is the northerly side of the site, you'll see that the westerly side is the septic area. And so the proposal is to come in with a driveway that just comes down on an angle through the site, and you could park cars. And then you could back up. It's a wide driveway. You have a backup area where you can then pull out. The 30-foot front yard setback is shown on the map. And again, the 30-foot front yard setback runs in the middle of the Y. That's the variance. The variance are these 2 little triangles in the middle of the Y where cars can be parked to use this driveway. Right now, like a lot of the houses old houses up in Lake Wabeeka, parking is on the road. I mean, years ago, you recall that these were built as summer bungalows, 70 years ago, and people didn't have cars. And if they had them, they were only up there in the summertime and the weekend. Now it's a year-round community. You got snow to deal with and passage on the road. And the association encourages anybody who can do it to get their parking off of the road and onto their site. But the way these sites are shaped, they're all undersized. There are none of them, to speak of, very few are 20,000 square feet in the RE20 zone. So you got these undersized sites with either the slope is up or the slope is down. And if you knew the history of Lake Wabeeka, years ago on the old Danbury maps from the 1800s and into the early 1900s, this was called Moses Mountain. Had nothing to do with a guy in the Bible, Moses, but the Moses family owned this mountain years ago. And old-time Danburyans might remember that they actually had a grocery store on the south end of Main Street near Rogers Park, the Moses brothers. But anyway, this was a mountain, and it's a mountain with a lot of ledge and rock and grade. So all these sites in Wabeeka, and this one in particular, suffers from that. As you'll see, that at the moment, if you look at the back of the property, the house borders on the lake. The lake is at 712 feet. That's its level. It's 712 feet above sea level. The back of the house is about 750 feet. So just from the back of the house down the lake, you got over 40 feet of grade. There's no way you could ever move your septic system back there, A, because of the ledge, and B, you wouldn't want to, because why would you want to move your septic, which needs time to travel underground, closer to Lake Wabeeka? You want your septic further from the lake rather than closer. So we're going to leave the septic up on the side of the lot, where it exists today, and ask you for this very small variance to allow us to park cars in that triangle, the triangle that's inside the Y of the new driveway. And other than that, she's got an existing non-conforming footprint, and she's going to use it. There's no change. We're not asking for any new side yard variances. The side yard to the east is very close, but it's been that way for, as I say, since the house was built, and it'll continue to be that way. But the only variance is for parking cars.
Okay.
And that seems almost too simple after the last application, but that's it. Ralph is here. If you got any questions, we're past his bedtime, so ask him. And if you got, and my client is also here, Maureen Tendler. She'll answer any questions that you might have. But it's a really straightforward application.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone have a question from the board?
I have two
Yeah.
questions.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pete.
I was looking at the property and it, I like what's going on in Lake Wabeeka. I think every project up there is just, really pleasingly with the aesthetics. But it seems like a little bit of a challenge though. And this is a question more for the engineer Gallagher. It's not to exceed 12%, the grade in the, construction of this
Correct.
driveway?
Yeah, for the record, Ralph Gallagher, professional engineer, representing the applicant. Yeah, it was a little challenging, but we took 12% right off the Sage Road, came down, and with a little bit of a stone wall on the north side, and stone wall on the west side, we're able to raise the grade so that we can get 12% from start to finish.
Okay. Okay. That was my only question.
Okay. Anyone else have a question from the board?
I have two questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
I'm looking at the site plan. The one portion, look at the nomenclature here of the site plan. The northeasterly side, it looks like that part of the driveway crosses between both septic galleries.
Correct.
Is that going to be an issue in the
No.
construction?
No, because we're gonna fill in those areas. We're not cutting the soil away.
Oh, okay, so you're filling.
Correct. We're filling, if we were getting close, when we get close, we would put some, select septic fill and then, driveway, fill over that. You know, we would never try to do any hydraulic block on the downward sloping of the septic. So, yeah. That's it.
And my second question, and I'm sure maintaining the 12% grade here would help a little bit. But then on the northwesterly side, as it takes the second turn there on the Y, what are we doing as far as, because I visited the site today, there is some ledge, there is a lot of ledge there, I should say, and it slopes drastically towards that easterly neighbor there, or southeasterly neighbor. What are we gonna do with water retention and
Southwesterly neighbor, you mean?
yes.
Okay. Those stone walls we show are going to have to be built. We have them 3 foot maximum and then slopes beyond that. So we can get rid of, with those two walls and the slopes, we can get rid of like 10 or more feet of, slope. So we're pretty confident we can get that without a problem.
All right.
All right.
Are we putting anything in between this retention walls and the driveway to retain any water or divert any water from that
We're letting,
southeasterly or southwesterly property?
we're letting it filter through the porous stone wall. We're not going to be mortared stone walls. It's going to be porous. So the flow will just filter through that and run down and continue down the west property line as it does now, right down all the way down. It's a very small area of driveway and it's not, it doesn't run off a lot more water than the existing steep slope. Because when your slope gets steep, it almost changes to not matter what it's made out of. A lot of this was ledge, so you know that's similar to driveway. So we don't anticipate any additional runoff that's going to cause any problem, and we're going to filter it through stone walls so that it will slow it down and disperse it and mitigate any kind of runoff.
All right.
That way.
Is the driveway going to be blacktop or is it going to be some sort of like soft gravel stone
it-
type of
On
driveway?
on 12% of that grade, we're going to have to blacktop it.
Okay,
That makes sense.
thank you.
Any other question from the board? Any other question? Okay. Anyone in support this application? Anyone in support this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition for this application? Okay, I guess we have a motion to close 25-06.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close application 25-06, 6 Sage Road, from public hearing.
I
Motion
second.
made by Mr. Rivas,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we need a motion to open it, discussion and voting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to open application 25-06, 6 H Road for voting session.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas, seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's see now, who's gonna volunteer the good work?
I make a motion to approve 25-06 06, 6 Sage Road, Tendler, Marlene R. H22104, RA20 zone, section 4GI and section 8CI. C2 to allow parking in a required front yard of a single family dwelling per plan submitted.
Motion made by Mr. Delosha.
Second.
Seconded by Mr.
Mr.
Botero.
Trotta.
Oh,
Mr. Trotta.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Okay, continuation of public hearing. 25-04. We got Mr. Marcus again now.
Well, actually, I'm gonna defer a lot to Mr. Brickus, because he's the guy who filed the.
You're just gonna let us watch the movie tonight.
Attorney Marcus, Moses Brothers must have been around the Civil War era.
Oh, come on, the Moses brothers were there when I was a kid.
The
How about
meat
that?
market, right?
Yeah, remember down, yeah. And you had to remember the Rogers Park Pharmacy, the.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Greek, but anyway, so on this one, again, for the record, Neil Marcus, Kona Wolf, PC, but we are really, I'm joined by Dinas Fabricus from Artel Engineering. And the continued public hearing was to resolve the issue of the driveway, because the driveway currently is excessive, and the proposal was to put in a new driveway with a garage and a parking area, and that driveway was not was above the 12% grade required by our current regs. So the pre-existing driveway could have stayed the way it was, but the thinking of the commission was, if we're going to put in a new driveway, we had to bring it to the current standard of 12%. And we continued this to allow us to meet with Sean Harity and to allow the engineer, Dinas Fabricus, to come up with a plan to see whether it was possible to reduce the grade to the driveway to meet the more current zoning regs. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to say that Sean was very helpful. He met with us, and I'm going to leave it in Dinas's hands now to review the plan that is now before you to address this issue. Can you take it, Dinas?
Sure, I can. Good evening, everybody. For the record, Dinas Fabricus, professional engineer with Artel Engineering Group, here on behalf of the applicant. And as Attorney Marcus had stated, he was able to arrange, and Sean was kind enough to meet with us. We looked at a drawing that we had prepared initially for submission, and then we had also made some modifications to that drawing, to which we now have a driveway that it does not exceed 12% in grade. And Melissa, I don't know, do you have a copy of the map to put up, or would you like me to share? How would you like that to proceed?
Either you or I believe Sean also has it, could share, but you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, terrific. I just have to make sure it's on my screen. It's almost there. Please stand by. I need to fetch it again. Oh boy. I'm almost there. Please hold on. I think when I clicked out of my email, as it was attached to an email, it disappeared as I clicked away. So just getting back in and should be up in a minute. Come on. There we go.
Here, here.
I've done it. Thank you all for your patience.
Okay,
And now what I'm going to do is concentrate our look on this portion of the driveway. And as you may recall, at our previous iteration, we had, well, the existing driveway swoops up and brushes right up against the house, and it, for the most part, is in excess of 20 to 25% in grade. So in our initial submission, we had figured, all right, we're going to reduce it to about 16%, which exceeded the driveway regulations, but it was a little bit better. And Sean said, this looks great, but make it 12%. So the right hand gave and the left hand took away. But we went back to the office, sharpened our pencil, and created this drawing, which now puts our driveway at a grade that does not exceed 12%. The shape of the driveway is still the same. We still are proposing to include a garage out in front and the ability to park a vehicle out in front of the garage if need be, especially during the winter months when people in Lake Wabeeka are told to move their vehicles from the frontage, where a lot of cars end up being parked year round, but move those vehicles all the way to the beach area, and then homeowners need to hoof it back to the house. But again, this driveway now is in compliant with the 12% limit. And we did actually flatten out a little bit, also to about 5% as we enter into the garage. Now the resulting retaining walls, as we get up into these corners, the northern and northwestern corners, the retaining wall will be about 5 feet in height, and similarly, as we run along the western edge of that wall, it varies between 6 to 7 feet in height. A little bit taller, about 2 to 3 feet taller than what we had before, but it now is down to
much better.
what was asked of us. So happy to answer any questions that you might have on that. Hopefully you're pleased with our work on that end, and hoping that you'll see to it to vote favorably on our application.
How they verify after finish is that driveway is that 12%? There have to be as built, or we have to depend on have everything have to go by the plan, or how's that?
Well, everything should be built per the plan. Usually for a single family residence, as-built are not requested. However, it has been more often the case that the zoning department asks for a sign off on various elements of the construction. So in this particular instance, to make sure that we are in compliance with our setbacks as shown for the home, for the garage, for the driveway, certainly the the zoning commission will ask for an as-built be submitted to confirm that construction was per the plan.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone have a question from the board? Anyone have a question? I guess everybody happy. Anyone in support this application? Anyone in support this application? Anyone in opposition of this application? Anyone in opposition? I guess everybody happy tonight. All right, so have a motion to close 25-04.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close application 25-04, 52 Carroll Street from public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
No second.
seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Pete, you got beat out.
Yeah. I lost a step.
All right, that was very easy. Okay. All right, let's see now. Who's gonna make the motion for open and discussion and voting or whatever?
I make a motion to approve 25-04 Carroll Street, Nadler, Maryland, and Jeffrey, Artel Engineering Group LLC, agent 123002, RA 20 zone, section 483, reduced southern side yard setback from 15 feet to 10 feet point one, and reduced front yard setback from 30 feet to 16.9. Section 4G, allow parking in required front yard. Section 3G, allow detached accessory in front yard. Section 3GD, allow detached, okay, I said that, I'm sorry, front yard. Allow parking in the front yard. Section 8A 2C4, allow excavation within 5 feet of the property line for construction
Yep.
of addition. Per plan
Rich.
submitted.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I like to make a motion. We're not in voting session. So I would like to make a motion to open application 25-04, 52 Carroll Street to voting session
and discussion.
and discussion.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Sorry, Pete.
That's
You
it.
get a
Any
second shot at it.
discussion? All right, Mr. Pete. Any discussion? Anyone have any comment, any question, any?
Chairman, who seconded the motion for open for voting?
Mr. Trata?
Thank you.
And just for the record, guys, when you do the approvals, be as detailed as possible on the section you're varying to the end point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay. So if there is no discussion, can we, someone make a motion? Pete, you can go ahead now, I guess.
Okay.
The floor is open for
I make-
you.
I make a motion to approve 25-04, 52 Carroll Street, Nadler, Maryland, and Jeffrey, Artel Engineering Group LLC, RA 20 zone, section 483, reduced southern side yard setback from 15 feet to 10.1 feet, reduced front yard setback from 30 feet to 16.9. Section 4G1, allow parking in required front yard. Section 3G 3A, allow detached accessory in the front yard. Section 3G 3D, allow detached garage from within front yard setback. Section 8C 1C2, allow parking in the front yard. Section 8A2 C4, allow excavation within 5 feet of property line for construction of of addition, detached garage, and retaining walls per plan submitted.
Motion made by Mr. DeLucia,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Prato. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. And
Thank you.
all. Thank you.
And by the way, a special thank you to Sean, because I gotta say, he was extraordinarily helpful in resolving this driveway question. Thank you, Sean.
And for the record, I want that recorded. And Neil,
Yeah.
thank me.
You're not gonna get a lot of those from me, you know that.
Thank you too from Dynas. Thank you.
Neil, you were 2 3/4 out of 3 tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, hold on. I think I was 2 and
from me
6/7.
too, please. Thank
get
you.
it on tonight. Tonight is your night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
John,
Thank
a
you.
quick question. You said, would I have to watch, what did I do wrong?
We have to be really detailed when we approve variance sections. So
Okay.
if you leave out like one, you don't have to go parentheses 1, but you have to finish the whole thing. And I know it's a lot sometimes.
Okay.
But you did great, Peter. No, thank you very much.
No, I just want to make sure I don't,
For me.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm not, but thank you, Peter.
All right.
Okay. Good night,
Did you guys
guys.
adjourn yet?
Thank you,
Wait,
everybody.
we need-
Mr. Chairman, I like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Motion made by Mr. Rivas,
We missed her second all night, so I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Trata. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's the easy one. No discussion, nothing.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Everybody have an awesome weekend.
Bye, guys. Thank
Thank-
you.
Hey, take care, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good job. We did 5 there.
Good night, good night.
Good night.
Good night.